you Adolf Hitler's plan of exterminating the Jews, which is called the Final Solution. And I'm going to begin with a speech where he actually talks about the Jews, and it's one of the few speeches that are, like, I found it on YouTube, but it's one of the few speeches that actually show evidence of how he hates them and why, or one of the reasons why he actually exterminated them, his belief of the reason they needed to die. So I'm going to show that to you.
Der Völkerstreit oder Hass untereinander, der wird gepflegt von ganz bestimmten Interessenten. Es ist eine kleine, wurzellose internationale Clique, die Völker gegeneinander hetzt, die nicht will, dass sie zur Ruhe kommen. Es sind das die Menschen, die überall und nirgends zu Hause sind, die nirgends einen Boden haben, auf den sie gewachsen sind, sondern die heute in Berlin leben, morgen genauso gut in Brüssel sein können, übermorgen in Paris oder mit in Prag oder in Wien oder in London und die sich überall zu Hause fühlen. Es sind die einzigen, die wirklich als internationale Elemente anzusprechen sind, weil sie überall ihre Geschäfte betätigen können. Aber das Volk kann ihnen ja nicht nachfolgen. Das Volk
So in this speech, it was called, translation like in English is the wandering parasite. Basically what Hitler is saying is that the Jews have a lot of businesses because they're very successful, they have a lot of businesses, they're doctors, lawyers, they work in the government, and because they are so successful, he believes that they are the reason for the people of Germany turning against each other. So I wanted to talk about his final solution, and in his final solution there are three big stages of it. The first one is the boycotting of any Jewish businesses. The second is the ghettos that the Jews were sent to live in. And then the third is the concentration camps where eventually they were sent to their death. In this picture, it's a banner and stating the boycott was in retaliation for. Okay, it says, help liberate Germany from Jewish capital, don't buy in Jewish stores. This is 1933, I got this from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and on April 1st, 1933, the first stage was executed, which was that Germans were urged not to buy any goods or shop at any Jewish-owned stores. And a quote from the Nazi propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, the boycott was in retaliation for anti-German atrocity propaganda spread by the International Jewelry and Foreign newspaper. That was a speech made on April 1st, 1933, later on in the afternoon. After 10 a.m., the banner started going up and Germans were being urged not to shop at Jewish stores. The second stage was started on October 1939. The ghettos were started. So Jews were already having a hard time because they weren't having customers, they were losing businesses. So what began after that was they were being taken out of their homes. It didn't matter if they were rich, didn't matter if they were already in poverty. Families were put into small kind of apartments, but super small, bad living conditions, up to 4 or 5 families in one home, and it was just really hard. And the reason why they were put in those, they thought, okay, we're just being picked on, being segregated, okay, at least we're together, at least our communities are together, we'll make the best of it. In reality, the Nazis have put them there so that they could have more time figuring out how long and where exactly they were gonna take them to be killed. So during the whole time that they were in the ghettos, which could have been days, months, or even years, there was actually concentration camps being built. The picture is the main entrance gate to the Krakow ghetto from Rynek Podgorski in Poland. I got this from a website, it's called In Your Pocket. The third picture is the gates of Auschwitz concentration camp. It's in Poland, was established in 1940 by Germans. This camp is the worst out of all of them. It was the most horrible, had the most killings, the most executions. And I got this from the Auschwitz website. At this camp, what would happen is the families would be taken from the ghettos, put into trains, sent to the concentration camp. The first thing that would happen is families would get separated. The youngest children and the elderly would be taken into lines where they were gassed, completely executed. Who was left? The older children and the parents. From then, they would separate the women from the men, and then seen or evaluated, checked out to see if they were able to work. If they were fit enough to work, then they would be sent off into labor, stripped of everything they had, put in the jumpsuits, and they would have to work in the worst conditions, long hours, no sleep, barely any food, fighting to survive. And during this time, at any moment you could be shot, you could be hung, you could be just taken to the gas chamber. You never know if you were going to live or die. So for my conclusion, from 1933 to 1945, Hitler's final solution killed 6 million Jews. He started from just having Germans boycott their businesses to separating them from the rest of society because they were Germans and they weren't allowed or shouldn't be mingling with the rest of the world, to ultimately their death, the concentration camps. So I chose this topic because although people know that Hitler killed many Jews, they do not know exactly what stages, how much preparation one person put to kill this many people. Thank you.
Jenny, what did you think?
I thought it was really good. I liked the video that you showed and the pictures you used. But you said your thesis right away instead of like having the hook first, which I think you should have just started with the video instead of just stating your thesis right away. And there were some points where you talked a little fast, but I really liked your points and you stated them really clearly, and you had really great examples, and you cited your sources pretty well throughout the whole thing, so I thought it was really good.
All right. I had a speech yesterday on almost exactly the same topic, done quite a bit differently, and it might be interesting for you to kind of look at the comparisons there, because I think you did a couple of things more successfully that helped the speech immensely, and that is, for example, explaining the chronology and talking about it in the order in which you did. Keeping it organized during the presentation. I do think that the sections on the 3 sections that you talk about need a little bit more development with some detailed information. You kind of talk about how the boycotting process started, and I'm wondering, okay, so what kind of impact did it have? And there may be limited information about that, but for instance, if it turned merchants who had been successful before into, victims of poverty, that would be worth noting. If it drove them out of the businesses that they were in, that would be important to know. If it caused them to withdraw from the rest of society or be treated differently, I think we need to get some of that. For example, yesterday he mentioned the isolation was part of the process that's connected with that. And he didn't talk about the boycott so much as he talked about the isolation, the labeling, the requirement for the badges, and that sort of thing. The ghettoization process, I think you explain very briefly, and I think it doesn't get as much development as it needs. So that felt a little bit thin also. The part where they're the concentration camps, I think most people at this point, if you've made it to college and you've had any exposure to the world, people are going to be somewhat familiar with that part of the process. And you covered it in as much detail as probably needed. I thought it was a little odd that both yesterday and today, I think it was like Holocaust Remembrance Day was just on Sunday, you know, and it seemed like strange that nobody made a reference to it, and this is something that's going on right now, and that would be appropriate. I kind of agree with Jenny about the introduction. I mean, you kind of just basically start with what your topic is. I think you might want to have a little bit of an introduction for the video clip. Let the video clip run, and then tell us, you know, and how did Hitler try to address this problem? His solution is what is sometimes referred to as the final solution, and my goal today is to tell you about that. And I think that would have led into the subject a little bit more effectively. All right, thank you.